Our next speaker today is Amanda McMahon, who is an art and history teacher at Huguenot High School in Richmond, Virginia. They have completed 2 national seminars, and they are a coordinator for my seminar this year. Thank you, Amanda. Amanda will examine choosing a topic to engage students.
Good morning, y'all. Morning. Ooh, love the energy. So that's perfect because I believe that student engagement starts with teacher engagement and teacher interest. So if my English teacher had asked me at the beginning of 10th grade English, what would engage you? What do you want to learn about? I would have answered Twilight, and I will not apologize for being 15. But instead, that first day of 10th grade English, she started talking about, okay, even though the first day is usually reserved for syllabus, I can't wait. I can't wait. And she gave us printed handout copies of Miss Ursula K. Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, which I see some nods familiar with the 1970s styling. And all of us teenagers curious about what was so important that she was demanding that we read at 7 o'clock in the morning, literally after having met us 5 minutes ago. We went ahead and sure, let's read it. And of course, it was like I had been hit in the head by a 2x4. So everyone here became and has stayed a teacher for a reason. It wasn't for the pay, it wasn't for the respect, but it's because I would wager that you all, like me, find some miracle at the heart of the subject that you teach. The writing of Ursula K. Le Guin had transformed my teacher, and it had left her with a palpable excitement that transformed us. So we understand that education is liberation, but I would add that education can be jubilation. It's crazy what's possible. Every one of us here could leave and go all decide to learn linear B, and nobody could stop us. And that is not to say there are not barriers laid in education. That is more of both a threat and a promise that no one can stop us. So especially if our drive to learn and to teach is rooted in joy, because that is the most sustainable of drives. When I first looked in an atomic microscope, I threw up because I was so excited. Ooh, ooh. So learning is really, really vulnerable. I teach teenagers and I teach introduction to art, and asking them to try something new every single day comes with the risk of failure, which to a teenager, of course, is humiliating. But when students see how joyful you are, and it doesn't need to be a performative extroversion that might be easier to those of us with a musical theater background, it makes them trust you, and it makes them invest in the subject, and it makes them willing to be vulnerable, and it makes them willing to take risks. And that is what will lead your students to the most valuable and transformative learning. So the topic of your curriculum that you find most engaging may be equally new and terrifying to your students. My students had certainly never heard of the pre-Columbian city of Cahokia, or given much thought to the design for long-term nuclear waste storage monuments, or had realized how much of the collections of major art museums was like straight up stolen. But I cared so deeply about these topics. I believe that the legacy of empire and ethics and art are among the most important things that I can teach them. And so I found such joy, not happiness, because like human sacrifice is pretty gnarly, but exciting to learn about. And not leisure, because even though I'm having a good time, hard work can be really, really fun, but I had joy because I knew that if I taught my students these subjects, they would become better humans, they would understand their world more deeply, and that joy sustained me past the reading period of May and June. That joy sustained me during the intensive session, even in that one part in July where the Purdue citation owl will start appearing to you in dreams. And that joy sustained me through edits and rewrites, and that point in the fall where all your optimism about pacing and supplies go out the window as you actually teach these units. Each of you guys came here to become a better teacher. But in the process of writing your curriculum, I ask that you allow yourself to become a more joyful teacher. What about your subject do you find miraculous? Do you find transformative? Because at the end of the day, not only will that be what engages your students, but that will be what will allow us to persist through whatever nonsense we're going to have to deal with before we come back together in October. So, thank you, y'all.